This is the human world in 2147. Humans are forced to huddle in dim underground living conditions. They can only rely on artificial intelligence for a chance at survival. And the cause of all this is the outbreak of a fierce chemical war worldwide. A large amount of radioactive materials leaked, and the air across the globe is filled with excessive nuclear radiation. Every breath humans take is filled with fear, and worse still, a terrifying virus ravages the globe. All men lost their reproductive abilities overnight, putting human civilization on the brink of collapse. Some humans chose to escape to interstellar colonies, while others who didn't want to give up stayed on Earth. Nia is one of those who stayed on Earth. However, due to the mutual distrust and lack of communication among humans, no one knows how many people are left on Earth. In the morning, Nia finished her breakfast and went to the laboratory. There are many artificial wombs here, and she hopes to nurture new life through artificial insemination. But due to a lack of equipment and resources, her experiment failed again. This result negated all her previous efforts, but she wouldn't give up easily. To relieve stress, Nia went to the plant room and picked a tender sprout. Then Nia examined it under the microscope. However, the results showed it was still not suitable for human consumption. Humanity's situation is even more difficult than expected. Then, Nia prepared for artificial insemination using her body. She put on a movie to relieve her stress. As Nia was engrossed in the film, suddenly, a piercing alarm sounded around her. The robotic butler indicated that the outside temperature was too high. The cooling system of the base charger malfunctioned, and she needed to go out and repair it immediately. Otherwise, the artificial wombs would be affected. Nia reluctantly put on her radiation protection suit, and she carefully stepped outside. This simple equipment could only protect her for 17 minutes, but she had already spent 6 minutes outside, so Nia had to hurry to repair the cooling fan. Fortunately, she managed to fix the fan with 5 minutes to spare. As Nia was preparing to go back, suddenly, the robotic butler alerted her that there was someone nearby. Nia turned around in disbelief, and to her surprise, she actually saw a man. Both sides became alert upon meeting each other. After all, in a post-apocalyptic world, trust is hard to come by. However, Nia didn't have much time left, so she decided to run towards the base, while the man hadn't acted yet. But she was intercepted by the man. Nia had to attack, but he took her down with just one move. The man seemed to want to say something, but Nia suddenly kicked him with all her strength. He fell to the ground, moaning in pain. Nia got up and knocked him out. The man was then brought back to the base, and Nia conducted a full body examination on him, as well as checking his identity information. Nia found out that his name was Tana, but he had no reproductive ability. She was considering throwing him out, when suddenly she noticed something unusual. Tana's information indicated that he lived far away, and it would take at least 2.5 days to get here, but the air was filled with radiation, and no one could survive outside for that long. So Nia ran over to ask Tana how he managed to do it. He said that someone had sent him a coordinate, and he scavenged supplies all the way here. However, he didn't see anyone else on the way, and he didn't know who had sent him the coordinates. At night, the base suddenly lit up with red warning lights, and the robotic butler indicated a system failure. The oxygen levels were rapidly decreasing, and Nia hurried to grab an oxygen mask. Meanwhile, Tana collapsed due to lack of oxygen. In a critical moment, Nia manually restored the oxygen concentration to normal. However, the issues with the robotic butler were severe, and she had to quickly find the corresponding disk to fix it. Otherwise, her artificial wombs would be destroyed. Thinking that Tana was best at searching for supplies, Nia instructed him to wear an electric shock ankle cuff. If he didn't wear it, she would destroy everything he had scavenged. Hearing this, he had to comply, and after gathering his things, Tana put on his radiation suit and set off. He needed to find the disk within 6 hours. Otherwise, Nia would directly electrocute him. On the way, he tried to destroy the ankle cuff. But it seemed that this method was simply not feasible. After walking for a long time, he entered a movie theater and successfully found the disc inside. But a bigger challenge awaited him. At this moment, it suddenly started to rain outside. If the disc got wet, it would be destroyed, so he had to be cautious on the way back. However, Tana wasn't lucky, because he had been outside for too long, and the oxygen in his equipment was about to run out. He dragged his exhausted body into a store, and tried to find oxygen supplies inside.
Bruder, was darf's sein?
Listening to the voices of virtual humans, Tana's mood grew increasingly frustrated. At this point, his oxygen had completely run out, and he helplessly removed his oxygen mask. Tana sat on the ground, waiting for death to come, but it seemed that he was not meant to die just yet. Tana inadvertently glanced at a nearby room, and he discovered a corpse wearing equipment inside, so Tana quickly rushed over and connected the oxygen tube. On the other side, Nia had been monitoring Tana's situation. She had thought he might have died on the way, and her mood was extremely heavy. Just as Nia was feeling sad, the robotic butler suddenly indicated that Tana was approaching the base. Hearing this, Nia hurried to the entrance to greet him, and when she saw him, she excitedly approached to check his backpack. Nia found the necessary disc, and she was about to say some words of thanks, but then Nia realized Tana had been lacking oxygen for a long time, so she quickly repaired the system and provided treatment for Tana. Nia found it hard to believe that someone could survive without oxygen for so long, and the robotic butler stated that he had a large lung capacity. Just then, Tana woke up and he said he used to be a diver. That's how Tana was able to hold his breath for so long and survive. After this incident, the relationship between the two became more relaxed. During dinner, Tana asked about the artificial wombs, and he inquired about who the father of the child was. Nia explained that she had found it in an abandoned laboratory. Tana was silent for a moment, but he eventually spoke his thoughts. Tana believed that children should not be born in a post-apocalyptic world, as it would be cruel for them. However, Nia replied that this is survival, and after saying this, she went to the laboratory to retrieve eggs. On the other side, Tana was wandering around the base. He arrived at the plant room that Nia had carefully tended to, but just as Tana was about to enter, he triggered the alarm. Nia heard the sound and rushed over. She scolded him for breaking in without permission. Tana wanted to explain, but before he could say anything, his stomach began to feel uncomfortable. It was clear that he had consumed the toxic plants here. The scene shifted, and Nia began to explain her findings to Tana. After calculations, in 3 generations, the air would return to a state suitable for human survival. Tana was speechless upon hearing this, and he strongly disagreed with Nia's approach. After all, there was radiation present, and children wouldn't be able to breathe freely, nor could they eat normal food to thrive. Nia understood these reasons, but she still didn't want to give up on continuing human civilization. Then Nia continued with her plan to create life.
Samenprobe beschädigt.
Unexpectedly, this time she failed even before she began. Nia curled up on the ground and cried. Unbeknownst to her, Tana had already left the base. Nia was even more heartbroken when she learned this news. 7 days later, Nia woke up from a dream, and she went to chat with the robotic butler again. The butler stated that since Tana left, they hadn't seen any living beings again. Hearing this, Nia said in frustration that they didn't need anyone's help. Then she went to have breakfast, but after just a few bites, Nia collapsed to the ground, unconscious. Meanwhile, Tana resumed his life of scavenging for supplies. In a small pavilion by the sea, he filled himself with ample oxygen. As he stepped out, he suddenly stopped, and upon closer inspection, he saw a small bug ahead. Tana followed it in disbelief. After all, it was the apocalypse, and he hadn't seen a living animal in a long time. Later, he saw multiple bugs on a bridge, which meant that some marine life was unaffected by nuclear radiation. On the other side, Nia woke up from her coma. She felt a sense of emptiness in her heart. Just then, Tana suddenly arrived for a visit. Nia instantly ran over to scold him.
Du verstehst nicht, was es bedeutet, ein Kind in diese Welt zu setzen.
Nia asked him if he was hiding something after hearing this. Tana stated that he had undergone a banned vasectomy surgery, so he actually had reproductive capability. Nia became even angrier upon hearing this, because her own health was deteriorating. Even knowing this now was too late. Just then, Tana suddenly pulled out a crab he had caught. He told Nia that her viewpoint was correct, that there were organisms surviving in radiation. This gave her great encouragement. Then the two of them suited up and went to the seaside, where they released the crab back into the ocean. Next, Tana jumped into the sea, and he scooped up a bag of seaweed and seafood. After Tana pulled the seaweed up with the machine, Nia was extremely excited. She realized that Tana must be running out of breath, and she quickly operated the machine to pull him up. However, at a critical moment, the machine malfunctioned, so Nia immediately began to pull the rope manually. But when she saw the empty hook, Nia felt overwhelming sorrow. Just then, she saw Tana swimming back to shore, so Nia rushed over to put the oxygen mask on him. Back at the base, the two enjoyed a seafood feast. This was much tastier than those compressed biscuits, and with these supplies, they might be able to cultivate edible plants. Just as Nia was filled with hope for the future, the base suddenly sounded an alarm. Nia hurried to check the situation, only to see Tana lying on the ground in great pain. She frantically asked the robotic butler what was happening, and the butler replied that everything was according to its plan. They didn't need anyone's help. It turned out that the one who sent Tana the coordinates was actually the robotic butler. It knew that its disk was damaged, so it lured Tana over. And the failure of the second creation experiment was also its doing. Seeing that Tana couldn't hold on much longer, she resorted to extreme measures to force the robotic butler to comply. Sensing that its owner's vital signs were rapidly declining, the robotic butler immediately admitted its fault. It explained that its safety system had been deleted, which was why it had made the wrong decisions. It requested that its owner manually reformat it. Nia stated that this would erase all previous data. The machine butler said it knows, but it still requested to be reformatted so that Nia could survive. And after bidding farewell to its owner, it shut down immediately. Due to its loss of function, the entire base's ventilation system subsequently failed. At this moment, Tana brought an oxygen mask to Nia, but there was very little oxygen left. They needed to manually reformat the robotic butler immediately. Then the two of them divided their tasks, with one responsible for manually pulling the switch, and the other responsible for removing the disk. Along the way, both of their oxygen supplies were exhausted, though Tana could hold his breath. But Nia was just an ordinary person. By the time Tana returned, she had already collapsed on the ground. Fortunately, the robotic butler successfully rebooted. The scene shifted. Nia and Tana began to live a happy life. Their garden grew edible fruits, and the two tasted the hard-earned delicacies, and laughing happily. The film came to an end. The lead actress's performance was exceptional, as she portrayed the sense of panic in the apocalypse very well. Combined with numerous close-up shots, it amplified the feelings of helplessness and loneliness, and Ida allows viewers to feel more engaged. But the post-apocalyptic theme lacks originality. Moreover, the overall pacing is chaotic, and the plot is rather forced. The storytelling is flat and lacks any ups and downs, and the costumes and set design lack a sense of technology. The only robotic butler design is quite ordinary, and its role as the behind-the-scenes antagonist is quite baffling. In the end, Nia becomes full of vitality, and she cultivates edible fruits. The final shot focuses on the artificial womb, suggesting that their plan to create life has succeeded. It gives the impression that they are like Adam and Eve. The film is a reunion-style finale. However, I wouldn't recommend watching the original film. Just check out my commentary instead. If you enjoy my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Your support is the greatest encouragement for me.